Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a full makeup inventory. If you missed my video on Wednesday, that was a full-on declutter. Like I actually showed you the products in the drawers, got everything out, showed you everything I had, showed you what I was getting rid of or passing on to friends, family, etc. And showed you what I was keeping. Today I'm going to give you the numbers. So what I had before, what I have now, what my budget is going to be for 2023 in terms of what I'm allowing myself to buy. Just a quick one. At the end of this video, I was like, you talked quickly in this. And I just want to put it out there for those of you who maybe are slow listeners. You can apparently change the speed that you watch YouTube at. Same way as if you're listening to a podcast or like an audiobook, you can actually change it. And some people, when I mentioned my fast talking last week, told me that they listen to me at like 1.5 speed or like double speed, which is, well, fantastic. But some people say that they listen to me a little bit slower. So I didn't know that was a thing. And if that is a thing for you, be aware of it. I might talk a little bit quickly for you. I'm very conscious of it now. And I'm very aware that I was very like blah, 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 in this video because I was quite excited and I'm feeling energized. And I can't dial that down. But you can dial me down apparently in some kind of setting. I first saw this from Kelly Gooch. She was talking about beauty inventory in conjunction with Project Pan. I'm going to talk about Project Pan a little bit at the end of the video. I'm definitely going to be doing a variation of that. She introduced me to a variation that feels more user-friendly for me and probably more user-friendly for people who do this kind of thing versus the regular beauty consumer. And I've just really loved her content recently, and a lot of the stuff that she's been talking about, she's kind of led me to other people who do really similar styles of content, and lots of people do like inventories, and I've just gone on a complete binge this past week. So I was like, well, I'm going to do that because I definitely wanted to do some variation of the Project Pan. I definitely wanted to give myself a beauty budget. It seemed like a good beginning step to really look at everything that I have, because how am I going to just pluck from thin air? Like, how many foundations will I really allow myself to buy when I don't really know what I have already? I am also going to do a video on every single beauty item as far as I can tell you, because I pretty much do beauty hauls for everything I buy. There might be the odd thing here or there that slips through the net, but I'm going to try to put together a list of every single item that I've purchased in 2022, tell you what was a hit and what was a miss, because sometimes I'll haul things and then I'm like, I didn't really like that, but it wasn't worth really talking about, and then you never hear of it again. So I thought that would be interesting. And again, another thing that will help me be a little bit more mindful when I'm coming to shop this year. Let's start with base. Let's start with primer. I had 23, shamefully, I had 23 primers. When I went through them this week, I was kind of surprised because I don't wear primer every single day. As you might know if you watch my videos frequently, when I do my makeup on camera, I tend to use the priming oil from Pixie. Very occasionally I'll use something else, but I do tend to like a hydrating something. I don't really like blurring ones. I don't like ones that are like, oh, we're going to help you adhere this to your face. It's more about how the makeup looks on my face and trying to make it all kind of melt together and look natural, and not accentuate like pores and lines and stuff like that. So oils and moisturizing type things are more my jam, and I don't wear them a lot. So that was a lot of primers. I got that number down to 17. That's still a lot, but some of those I put in my everyday makeup drawer, mostly because I'm like, okay, do I really want to use these? I've put some aside to be like, use these soon. Use these in the next month. Really think about it, and maybe we'll get that number down. I don't want to get rid of them right now, but maybe soon. With that in mind, my primer budget for 2023 is 0. I don't need to be buying any more primers. They're one of those products, a bit like skincare, because I'm like, love skincare. They're very, very tempting because they make all these promises, but then I don't use them, so useless. Next I've got liquid foundation. There are a lot of categories. Liquid foundation, 29. I've got one face. So part of this is being sent products, part of this is me hoarding things. It's mostly hoarding things because I don't get sent tons and tons of products these days. I don't respond to a lot of emails that say, do you want these products? Very, very few and far between, more skincare than makeup. And when you don't respond to emails for a really long time, people stop emailing you. So we don't get that many PR sample kind of packages these days. which I'm happy with, because the idea behind that was that I wanted to make sure the majority of the products that were in my hands were ones that appealed to me as a consumer and that I went out and bought them with my own money, rather than always feeling like, well, I'm only talking about these products because I have them, but I wouldn't really have bought them. Do you know? Like I was being kind of secretly marketing on behalf of other people. So I didn't tend to take in a lot of products, but I can't get rid of things. I'm a real hoarder. It's in my blood. So I had a lot of foundations, mostly because if ever someone says to me, how does this compare to this? I wanted to be able to tell them. I actually did a reel about this last week. Someone said, I posted about one foundation. They said, how does it compare to this foundation? So the next day I made a video, half and half face. And that then instills in me that I was right to keep all of those things. It's not good. So it was a pretty big deal to get 29 down to 17. It's a pretty big deal. Some of those things were duplicates. Some of them just didn't work for me. Some of them were kind of too old or they were discontinued. I knew no one was going to ask about them. Given that I am a bit of a foundation junkie, I've allowed myself 2 foundations for 2023, which maybe is a lot. We'll see. We'll see. But also, before you think like, oh, that's not too bad, I've also got tinted / light as a category. I want to say like BB cream, CC cream, but I put anything that I would think of as like a foundation coverage product in with foundation. So for example, the CC cream from It Cosmetics, that is a CC cream, but I know traditional Japanese products versus the westernized versions of CC, BB are different. But really what I mean here is like lightweight or tinted type products. So in this, I had 6. I got that down to 1 and I've put myself in for 2 there as well. So that's 4 foundations technically, but 2 for that because I really feel like that's more up my street. I could potentially go the rest of this year without buying any foundations. I want to give myself 2 just in case something amazing comes on the market. And I have already seen a new one from Maybelline, the Age Rewind Eraser. I haven't found one online that is my shade yet. And I have told myself I'm not allowed to buy any makeup till February. But I'm just trying to kind of keep myself in check. So 2 for both of those. And then powder foundation, I only had 1. I'm allowing myself to keep that 1 because it's a really nice one and it's from Primark. And I put 1 down for my beauty budget for 2023 because I only have 1. I did have 2 and I smashed the L'Oreal one. The Infallible was really, really nice. But you do find that with the nicer pressed powders, they're nice because they're so finely milled and that's why the texture of them is so good. But then they're more delicate, so if you drop them, they're more likely to crumble into a million pieces. Concealer! For someone who doesn't wear a lot of concealer, I have been trying last year just because for a while I stopped wearing concealer because it just settled and it just made me look older and I didn't really like it. But I found a few that I quite liked and I've kind of gone back to it this year, last year, because I really like the fun of like sculpting and contouring and all of that stuff. And I stopped doing those things because I was so mindful of flattering makeup. And there's a time and a place. Sometimes you just want to look like skin. Sometimes you want your makeup to look like, oh, it looks really healthy and it looks really natural. And sometimes it's just for fun. Sometimes it's like, no, I want to go dramatic. I want to do makeup that's going to look good on camera, but not in real life. Sometimes that's what you want to do. So I did start playing around with concealers a little bit more last year. I had 19 at the beginning of my declutter. At the end I had 16. But again, same with the other products. I put some in with my everyday makeup because it was kind of like, I can't really remember how I feel about this. It's been a while. I'll test it out. That may be decluttered. We shall see. As it seems to be people that do these kind of videos, they'll do like a 6-monthly update. So if I go massively different from these numbers in the next 6 months, I might do a half-year update. We'll see. But some of these products, as I did talk about the video on Wednesday, some of these products, it will go down from there. It will go down. Pressed powder, I had 5 and I left myself with 3, which I don't think is too bad. Oh, and concealer, I allow myself 1 this year because concealer is another one of those products that it really draws me in with the promises. It's like, oh, it's so whatever it is, like it's gonna be so radiant and brightening and blah, blah, blah. And it so rarely is any of those things. But it is one of those products that draws me in. It is something that I'm excited to buy. Like foundation, base stuff. It's mostly base stuff and lips, which we'll get to because I'm not even covering lips today. Pressed powder I had 5, 3 I have now, and 1 I've allowed myself just because I always am using a pressed powder in my handbag. It's always my touch-up. I probably won't need to buy another one, like as in I won't be like, oh my god, I'm going to use up 3, but I might want to replace one of the ones that I have, and so I'm allowing myself the 1. Loose powder, that's what I'm using more of these days to set my makeup if I want to do powder at all, which who knows, but I am using that at the moment quite a lot. I've got 5 of them. I'm keeping all 5 and I'm allowing myself 1 in case one makes me excited. I have 5, but they're not, one of them's teeny tiny, and a lot of them are almost finished, so I think it's fair to allow myself 1. Also, when I went through, because I've made the majority of my list of what I bought in 2022 so far, it was a smaller list than I thought, so I just kind of wanted to sit with that for a little bit longer in case I remember other things that aren't on that list. Setting spray. Setting spray was like my kryptonite last year. I bought so many. 17. After my declutter, I had 7, so I felt really good about myself. And I am allowing myself 0. Absolutely no setting sprays. I do use them. Not every single time I do my makeup and not every day. So the amount of setting sprays I have now, if I use them every single day, I'd probably have enough to last me the rest of the year. So I definitely do not need any more. That's not to say I won't be randomly sent one. I am taking that into consideration when I've made my budget, but I'm not allowing myself to buy any more because it's the same deal. They all make all these special promises and I believe everything, and I am a shopaholic and I need to rein it in. Blotting papers. I told you there's a category for everything. So I had 3 things that I would put in this category. I never, ever use blotting papers. I'm going to tell you what I do. Some of you will be like, this is so gross. If I was out, which these days I'm so rarely out all day, but if I was out, like in the office, or I was like out for the day, in the middle of the day, I would go to the bathroom and use toilet paper to blot my face. And that is what I would do. That's what I've always done. I'm not going to carry blotting papers around with me. It's just not going to happen. And so I gave my blotting papers to my daughter. I had one thing, I think I can reach it from here actually, I can. This Blotterazzi from Beauty Blender, and this I really quite like. It's like a sponge. You can take this sponge out. I have used this because it's different. Blotting papers feel like grease-proof paper. I just don't like them. This feels different. This is like, you can blot yourself, put it back in here. You can put this in the washing machine. So this I kept because I thought it was quite useful. It's also got a little mirror inside it. It's cool, but the blotting papers I definitely did not need. So as you can imagine, I allow myself 0 blotting products for 2023. Liquid or cream blush. Now we're getting into the exciting stuff because this was the point where I was like, it's going to be hard, it's going to be difficult. I had 24. I don't know if I thought it was going to be more than that, but I think I did. And I got that down to 17, which I was quite pleased with. That has been something that I've been excited to buy. I can't remember the last time I was excited to buy a powder blush, unless I was buying it specifically for a video, which is also worth noting. I'm going to not do that. I'm going to try to not do that this year. It's really, really difficult because some products, I see them and part of me wants to try it, but a huge part of me is like, oh, people will want to see this. And someone will ask me the question and I won't have it and I'll be like, oh, I feel like I'm behind. It's really, really difficult not to succumb to that, but I'm going to try to minimize that as much as I can. Anyway, I haven't really bought those recently, but I've bought a lot of cream and liquid blushes because they have been way more my kind of vibe, with the whole thing of wanting to look a bit more natural, everything glowy, not very kind of heavy and powdery. I did get that down to 17, which I think is pretty good. I know that's a lot, but I was trying to reduce it further and I was like, this seems crazy because I use these all the time. They are my most used cheap product. If I don't use something like, if I don't use highlight or bronzer, I'll definitely use a cream blush. I might not always use the other products, but I'll always use a cream blush of some kind. So it just seemed mad to be really strict with myself in that category. So I'm allowing myself 2 this year in case something comes up that I'm like, I absolutely have to have it because it is an exciting category for me at the moment. But that's where I'm at. Powder blush, I had 25. What? Now some of these are like collector's items that I'm never really going to use. And I'm considering taking them out completely because I've got quite a few things throughout my collection in different categories that really I'm just keeping because you can't get them anymore, or they were like matte collector's like items. I mean, for example, tell me how I could get rid of this. Tell me how I could get rid of a golden Mariah Carey bronzer that I'm clearly never going to use. How could I possibly get rid of this? It's also not really part of my makeup collection. It's not really things that I'm using. It's just in the categories, do you know? So a lot of blushes fall within that, things that I don't really want to get rid of because they've got some nostalgia or collective thing attached to them. So I may look into putting those like in a different storage box because they don't need to be in my day-to-day stuff. But I had 25 all the same, and I got that down to 19. Not so bad, and I'm allowing myself 1 because you just never know, something absolutely incredible might come out. I'm expecting to not hit every single one of these. I would like to aim for less, truthfully, but I am being relatively strict on the number of things that I'm allowing myself to buy. One of the things that Kelly said in her video that really kind of spoke to me was she said it's going to make her think a little bit more. You know, let's say she's allowing herself to buy 3 palettes. If she sees something in February and she's like, oh my God, I have to have this, is it going to be one of the 3? Is it really worth being one of the 3? And it just makes you think a little bit more rather than be so impulsive. Like if I've only given myself 1 thing that I can buy and it's March, maybe I'll sit on it for a little bit, just see if anything else comes out that's still going to be available. Maybe I'll wait. And I like that. That seems like something that's going to work for me. Where are we at? Cream and liquid bronzer. 4. I know! I loved that Fenty cream bronzer all last year, and I honestly can't believe, like, that was one of the things that recently I was looking at. Well, what else is available? And there's quite a cool looking one from e.l.f. that maybe would be a dupe. And I'm still considering buying that, but realistically, I would only be buying that to review for you guys because I love the Fenty one that I've got. There's so much left in it. I'm not going to run out of that for a long time, like probably years. So this is kind of the balance that I'm trying to strike. Maybe with certain things, it's okay to test out some other drugstore options for the sake of a review because this is literally what I do. But I'm trying to be a little bit more mindful and not going out and buying like 8 things at once like I used to. So I was quite impressed with that. I've got 4 already. I've kept 3 because one of them just didn't really work for me. It was more like a contour and it was not a great shade. So I kept 3 and I'm allowing myself 3 because that was another thing I really enjoyed using last year that I think I'm going to enjoy using at least for the next year or so. Powder bronzer. Again, something I was surprised, but I only have 8. Turns out I'm not really a sun-kissed kind of girl. Only had 8. After the declutter, I had 5, and I'm allowing myself to buy none because I can't remember the last time I used a powder bronzer. And that is why, although, do you know what? Now I'm thinking there's one on the floor. I'm going to have to change this number. Right, I was like, I'm sure I didn't see the butter bronzer. I didn't. So we're going to say I had 9 and I now have 6. But I'm still going to allow myself to buy none. Liquid and cream highlight. Now, I'm not surprised I had 14, but I'm kind of surprised I didn't have more than 14. So a lot of the liquid highlights that I have, I bought for a video maybe 3 or 4 years ago now. And I bought them because I was wanting to test out lots of liquid highlights to see which ones were like sheeny versus very glittery. And I just kind of bought, I steadily collected lots of them for a video. I can't even tell you if I made the video now, I must have done. But I'm not excited about the ones that I got because they are quite glittery and a bit much, whereas the ones that I use all the time are definitely more of that primer glow, kind of like the Hourglass ambient lighting, but in a liquid form. So with that in mind, I decluttered to 6, which is quite a lot of decluttering. And I put a couple in my everyday makeup stash to test out really how glittery they are. Because if they're super glittery, I'm just not interested. But I think a couple of them, maybe I need to try them out a little bit more and see if maybe they were better than I expected. But I got rid of a lot of them. I passed off a lot to Ella and my friend. And hopefully, I mean, my friend who I'm giving some stuff to is obsessed with glitter, so she's going to get some really fun stuff. And I am allowing myself 2 things because this, again, is one of those products that I'm excited about for 2023. More kind of glowy things. I would like to try more of the Charlotte Tilbury, what's it called? The Hollywood Glow or something. You know, the dupe that there's one from e.l.f., there's one from Collection. Filter something. You know what I'm talking about. Supermodel, no idea. But I'd like to try more of those, maybe even the Charlotte Tilbury one, just so that I could actually review and compare for you guys. Powder highlight. I had 11. I now have 6 and I'm allowing myself to buy 1 because again, might need to replace something. I'm thinking specifically of a powder highlight from Hourglass that I use. Really, I use it as kind of like an all over face powder. That's what I use in my handbag right now as my pressed powder. I could fall into either of those 2 categories. But I potentially would want to try another one of those this year because I really, really love the finish of the Ambient Light powders. They are some of the only products that I think are really worth spending the extra money on because they really are incredible. And lastly for base, we've got face palettes, which I was kind of surprised. I have 4. I don't know if I thought I was going to have more than this. I did do a declutter last year, so I think I did used to have more stuff that was like, this doesn't make sense, I never use it. So I only had 4 and now I've only got 1, and that again was kind of in the collection realm that I don't know really that I'm going to use it, but I don't want to get rid of it because it was limited edition. And I am allowing myself to buy no more face palettes in 2023 because I never use face palettes. Moving on, we've got eyes, and this is really the only other category because I'm not getting into lipsticks today. That is going to have to be its own video. There are so many lipsticks in this drawer. They're all separated into colours. What I would really like to do at some point is do a full video or maybe a series because it's a lot, swatching everything, because how am I supposed to declutter them just looking at them? I really need to kind of wear them, at least swatch everything. The liquid lips particularly, they really need a wear test. So let me know if you can think of a particular format or if you know someone who's made a video like that and you're like, this was a really good way of doing it, and I will pinch their idea. I am not above it. But that is kind of what I would like to do. I would like to do more of an in-depth swatchy video on lips because that is my, I can't even, right now I'm not putting a budget on lips because I'm just, the idea is too limiting. Eye primers, I had 4. Which was more than I thought I would have, and now I have 2. And I'm allowing myself 1 really only if 1 runs out, which potentially it will, so I'll just replace it. I'm not excited about eye primers particularly. I did show you in the video on Wednesday the ones that I'm keeping if you're interested. Single shadows, I had 15 and at least half of them were exactly the same colour. So I now have 8 and I am allowing myself 1. That's generous because I can't remember the last time. No, that's not true. I used a single shadow today. I used a single shadow, a very, very black single shadow as my liner today. So, egg on my face. But it's really not something I need to be buying lots of. Eye crayons. This is something that I didn't think I had that many of. I had 10. I'm keeping 6, and I'm keeping 6 after I swatched them and decided which ones to keep. Because I think part of it is I look at them and I'm like, oh, they're all rubbish. Again, with less stuff in my collection now, I can rummage through things and be like, do you know what, I'm going to try that today. Like I've got something on today that I don't usually wear. I'm wearing a highlight that you can't buy anymore. It's from Topshop. I showed you in the video on Wednesday. But I was like, shall I keep this? And I put it on today and I'm like, oh my God, this is so gorgeous. And I've never worn this maybe ever. And I've just had it in my collection. And I don't look through things and use things because it's too over-facing. But also, I've been so focused on using things that are new and recommending things that people can buy right now. Yes, that is ideal and we want recommendations from people, but also we've got a lot of stuff that is like a lot of stuff, haven't we? And do we really need it to be the new thing? If I show you, oh, I'm using this liquid highlight, oh, it's so gorgeous, and if you apply it this way, you've probably got something that would work exactly the same way as that. We don't need to be buying like 14 new liquid highlights. She says, after allowing herself 2 new liquid highlights in 2023. So I have 6 eye crayons and I'm not buying any more. Cream and liquid shadow. I honestly didn't even know this was a category that was in my collection, but I have 11 or had 11 cream or liquid shadows. These are like in pots. I hardly liked any of these, but I kept 5 and I'm not buying any more. Pencil liners. I knew this was going to be a tough one. 26. Got it down to 18 because I don't need duplicates of loads of different colours, especially the funky colours. I'm not going through those very quickly. I kept pretty much every Urban Decay one that I've got because they're my absolute favourites. And some really unusual colours, and then a couple of black ones that I knew I liked. And I'm allowing myself no new pencil liners this year. Gel liner, I never use, ever. I had 4 of them. I've kept 2, and I only kept 2 because they were funky colours. So I've got like a violet black and like a forest green. Kept those 2 ones because, I don't know, but I never ever use them. So I just kept those because they're a bit interesting, passed on the black ones to Ella, and I'm not buying any this year because I can't remember the last time I actually reached for them. Liquid liners was interesting. I have two. I used to wear liquid liner every single day. I only have two. I'm pretty sure they're both past their best, like super dried up. So I've put them in my main makeup collection to see whether or not they're any good. If not, that is going to be one of my early purchases. I'm allowing myself one. If anyone has one that you could recommend, I feel like I really liked the Epic Ink one from 17, not 17, NYX. There was a tattoo liner from 17 that was fantastic before they went under and came back without it. But if you can recommend something that is, I can't have a felt tip. It can be a felt tip if it's got like a brush tip, you know, like the tattoo liner from Kat Von D, KVD. But if it's a felt tip, it's just going to drag. My eyes are not like tight. They are a little crepey, I want to say, but they've always been like that. They're always kind of, it would just drag. So it has to be something that will be soft on my eye. So I'm interested to hear what you say, but more of a brush than a felt tip lip. Because I am looking for one this year. Eyeshadow palettes. I'm going to give you a second because these are not massive drawers. These are drawers that are like, you know, like a Kallax unit drawer. It's like half of the size of a Kallax unit. So that is half of the size of one of those Kallax boxes, which we're all kind of familiar with, about 50 cent by 50 cent. Half of the size of one of that. How many palettes could she possibly have? 37. It's more than I thought. It's more than I thought it was going to be. Now I've got 24 and I'm allowing myself one because you just never know. But several times last year I told you I had found the most amazing eyeshadow palette, which was the Too Faced one, and that it was the only palette I'd ever need. I've got lots of palettes that have got lots of different colours in them. Theoretically, so as not to make a liar of myself, I should buy no eyeshadow palettes ever again until I run out of that one. But you just never know. So I'm just going to say one, just in case, but I'm aiming for 0. Mascara was a high one. I knew I had quite a lot of mascaras. Most of them weren't open. I had lots of duplicates and then just a lot of things that I'd tried for videos and then just never used again. 21. Now I have 5. I basically gave Ella everything that I hadn't already opened or that I wasn't currently using or expecting to use. And I'm allowing myself one more this year. Now, here's the problem with that. I am actually including in those mascaras, and I'm just having a little bit of a panic right now. Whew, no, I thought I might have thrown this away by accident. The Maybelline Lash Sensational Primer. You cannot get this anymore. It's an issue. They have made a new primer. Can't remember what it is. Can't remember what. A different kind of Lash Sensational one, maybe. Anyway, lots of people, maybe Skyscraper. Lots of people message me about it. Have you tried it yet? Have you tried it? Haven't found stock yet. Again, I'm not buying anything till February. That is going to be one of the things I buy. So that might be my one mascara. I do have other mascaras I might not need anymore. But I may end up going into 2 if we're including the primer, because I'm not putting that in its own category. I just really want to try that to see if it's anywhere near as good as the other one. Otherwise, I'm not interested in trying any other lash primers. Right, brow pencils. So I had 9 and now I have 1. 8 of them were finished and I just hadn't thrown them away. That's true. They were just completely dead. So I'm now down to 1. I really need to replace the ones that I loved because I'm currently using one that I don't love very much. It's fine, but I don't love it. So I've given myself 1 on this list, but realistically it might be 2 because I might use up 2 in a year. Brow gel. I had 9 brow gels. I've kept 5 and I'm allowing myself to buy 1. I don't use brow gel very often. I've got it in today because I'm just trying to use the stuff I've got. But 9. And the crazy thing is, again, I think this was for a video, a Christmas, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I did a video about glitters and I was really looking for glitters that didn't fall out, didn't like get all over your face. And I was doing lots of tests and put together a video that was like all about glitters, all the best primers and mixers and things that would help them stay on your eye. And I've just now got all these glitters and I never ever used glitter. So I had 16. Now I've got 8. And the 8 that I kept were ones that were not loose. My friend who loves glitter, she's going to have a good time because she's getting so many palettes that are sparkly. Did I tell you? I did tell you about palettes. And she's getting loose glitters. She's getting painty type glitters. She's going to love it. And I'm giving myself 0 as a beauty budget for glitter this year because I never, ever, ever wear glitter. Never. I'm going to try to use glitter more because it seems like glitter's coming back. Might be the worst time to have done this, but I don't wear glitter, so I've kept some, but I'm not intending on adding to that. And the last thing on my list was glitter primer, which I had 2, but one of them was all dried up, so now I've got 1. And that's everything apart from lipstick, because we just can't. I'm not emotionally ready to do the lipsticks. But I'm really, really pleased with myself. I'm so happy to have gone through everything. It's really made me look at my collection in a completely different way. I have so much stuff I'd forgotten I'd even ever had, let alone that I still had, and so many things that have come out in the last 6 months, 12 months. And I've been like, maybe. I've gone through my collection and been like, that is so like that other thing. Or so many trends that I've seen. I've been quite into Pinterest recently. So many trends I've seen on Pinterest. I've got so many products that would maybe lend themselves to some of those looks that I was actually already looking for new products for. So really fun and useful exercise for me. But I thought I would share with you what my actual budget will be for each of the categories. So hopefully that will be useful, maybe inspirational for some of you. So the thing with the project pan, I'm going to do that maybe some point next month. We'll start the project pan. And the idea is that you assign a certain amount of uses to certain products, which I quite like. So I'm going to pick a number of products and I'm going to say I want to use these products X number of times this year and keep kind of like a little running tally to make sure that I'm maybe pulling out products that I don't use very often or rotating my products more often and actually not always reaching for the same things, which is what I've tended to do in the past year. So I really, really like that idea. It's definitely more doable for me than actually finishing products up because I do want to be trying new things. I want to be kind of switching it up. And I also have this weird aversion to using things up. I can't tell you. Even, I say this all the time. If you watch my videos frequently, I apologize for repeating myself constantly, but I do this with everything and I do it with shows all the time. I'll get to the very last episode and I just won't watch the last one. I've never watched the end of Grace and Frankie. I watched every other episode. I've just not watched the last one because one day I got really close to the end and then I just stopped watching it and started watching something else. I don't know why I do this. I'm sure some of you are the same and the others think that's crazy and it's probably correct. But I have a really hard time finishing things. So Project Pan was always like, yeah, really like that idea. And then I'd start and be like, oh, it's making me uncomfortable. I just don't want to do that this year. So path of least resistance, I'm going to try this way and I'll pick my products and we'll get into that in February. But yeah, hopefully this has been a fun week of beauty chat either way. And on Sunday, I'm going to come back to you with, I think this makeup look, either Sunday or Wednesday. That really depends because Emma and Chris are coming up for the weekend and me and Emma are going to Primark on Saturday. So if I can get it together in time, I might edit that video for this Sunday. We'll see. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining me. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and I will see you guys next time. Bye!